Oh, hey, Cyril here. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but, it's hot. I mean, it's unbearably hot right now. It's so hot that I can barely get out of my chair and my mouth isn't even working right. I just had one of the games that I'm reviewing burst into flames. It's that hot. But that's okay, don't worry about it. It was just Kinky Fight Club, so it was no big loss. Now, in case you haven't heard, the Pacific Northwest is in the middle of a heat wave. It hit 115 degrees today, which is almost 10 degrees hotter than Atlanta. You know, the place everybody affectionately calls Hotlanta. It's also 6 degrees hotter than Houston's hottest day. And get this, it's a whopping 17 degrees hotter than both Nick and Cyril Lachel combined. The point I'm trying to make is that it's hot, and everything right now is kind of at a standstill. But even with this oppressive heat ruining, well, absolutely everything, I can't help but notice a new trend. I'm not entirely sure how it happened, but it sure seems like Defunct Games has spoiled a lot of upcoming releases. You have to understand that this was never my intention. When I started Game Over the early years back in 2017, my goal was just to look back at old games, quickly recap their stories, and then review the ending. Simple. We weren't talking about games that came out 20 or 25 or maybe even 30 years ago, more than that in some cases, so I figured that the moratorium on spoilers had ended a long time ago. As it turns out, I was wrong. Over the last few weeks, I've noted that a lot of the games that we've covered in this series are starting to get proper releases in 2021, both in digital and physical formats. A good example of this is the Valis series, which we've recently learned will be coming to the Switch and getting a PC Engine re-release later this year in order to celebrate the 35th anniversary. If you don't want to wait for that to happen, then I'm here to tell you that we've already broken down all of the stories and spoiled the endings for Valis, the Phantasm Soldier, Valis 2, and yes, even the end of the Yuko trilogy with Valis 3. I would argue that these are 3 of the best Game Over episodes that we've produced yet, full of clips from the cinemas and lots of terrible voice acting. If you watched those episodes thinking that you would never be able to play them on a modern console, then I'm sorry that I ruined it for you. I hope you'll be able to forgive me. I guess I should also apologize for ruining Castlevania, Rondo of Blood. I'm not sure if you've seen this yet or not, but apparently Limited Run Games is going to be doing what Konami was too afraid to do back in the 1990s, and that's bring Rondo of Blood to the Turbo Duo. This is great news, and I can't recommend the game enough, especially if you didn't watch us break down the story back in 2018, which was only a few months before Konami decided to re-release the game in the Castlevania Requiem collection on the PlayStation 4. I guess I should probably apologize for ruining that one, too. Sorry about that. And you know what? That's not even the worst of it. It's bad enough that I ruined a game you probably won't even be able to buy because it'll be sold out by the time you get to it. But I'm pretty sure I accidentally spoiled the entire first season of the upcoming Castlevania series. You see, Netflix recently announced that their popular Castlevania series would be making a time jump, going from Trevor Belmont, which we saw in the first 4 seasons, to Richter Belmont. That's exciting, especially if you're a fan of the whole Symphony of the Night storyline. But it also means that we're probably going to get a full season based on what happened in Rondo. Yeah, I guess we'll just kind of have to try to act surprised when the whole big twist happens. Sorry, Netflix. On the bright side, I haven't spoiled any of the games that are coming to the Castlevania Advance Collection. Have you heard about this? From Circle of the Moon to Harmony of Dissonance to Aria of Sorrow, I love every single one of these Castlevania entries that came to the Game Boy Advance. So being able to play these games on a modern console is definitely welcome and exciting news. And you can see why I'm so hyped for this release when you watch Electronic Gaming Monthly ranks Castlevania. It's a 2-part episode where we look at the best and worst reviewed games in the long-running franchise, according to the critics at EGM, of course. Spoiler alert, all 3 of the Game Boy Advance titles are firmly in the top 10. But hey, I still recommend that you go ahead and check out the bottom half if you haven't already. Links for those episodes, as well as the Valis and Rondo of Blood spoiler videos, will be linked in the description box below. Now, one thing that I don't feel bad about spoiling is the Cruis'N series on the Nintendo 64. With the new Cruis'N game being announced for the Switch, I've seen quite a few people talking about those old games. I truly don't think that most people remember just how crazy those endings were. Guys, I'm talking about Bill Clinton hanging out in a hot tub with a bunch of bikini-clad models. There are also cows and aliens, and seriously, this whole thing is nuts. Don't matter if you're excited about the upcoming game or not, you owe it to yourself to check out the Game Over episode where we spoil the endings for all of those Cruis'N games. You won't regret it. On a final note, you may have noticed that we've started titling the videos with story breakdown instead of the usual game over wording. This was actually a suggestion made by a longtime fan of Defunct Games who made an excellent point. So what I did was I went back and I retitled all of the 120 or so previous episodes. Guys, this turned out to be a great suggestion because I immediately saw a big increase in the amount of views and comments that we saw on all of the older episodes. I'm talking about episodes that barely got any traction. They're all of a sudden getting a bunch of comments, which is great news. Although not every episode gets huge numbers, I feel like there's a nice variety of big names and obscure games that'll keep bringing people in. I see viewers enjoying one of the episodes and then just binging the rest of the playlist. That's the kind of thing that started happening because of just a simple title change, which if I'm being honest, I probably should have considered a long time ago. Now, I bring all this up to show you the impact the audience has on this channel. I don't say this enough, but some of the best changes I've made over the years have come from audience members making good suggestions. It's the reason I put the Defunct Games logo on the thumbnail, or why every review has information about the systems, developers, and pricing. Look, I know that it's easy to be cynical about the stuff that you watch on YouTube, and I want you to know that I read every comment and I listen to the suggestions. I mean, I may not agree with all of them, but know that I take every suggestion seriously. So please, keep them coming. Alright, now we'll be back later this week with a review of Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX, as well as a connected Game Over episode that's gonna spoil every single game in the Alex Kidd franchise. You know, because it's the summer of Sega. Hopefully things have cooled down by then, because I'm not sure how much more of this heat I can take. I'll see you tomorrow, but before I sign off, I just want you to know that I'm sorry for ruining the Valis series and Rondo of Blood. But also, not sorry. I mean, you knew what you were getting yourself into when I warned you to turn back now. It's kinda your fault when you think about it. Yeah, now that's a point to leave on. Until then,